Acapulco, Mexico. This is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I think all of you have been on Anarchast at some point. You were on a little bit at one point, at least waving or something. Waving. So, we have Lisa Freeman, who's the wife of Nathan Freeman, who runs Anarchapulco. Dayna Martin, of course, peaceful parenting and unschooling and all that kind of stuff. And a midwife for, you can't see her, but she's right inside that little thing. It's Ira Belle, which if you say it kind of fast, Ira Belle. She was born last night at about 1 or 2 in the morning and was actually done, I think, right here in this living room. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Right there.
So she was born in basically a little inflatable swimming pool. Incredible story. Dayna's actually a midwife. That's actually how she got into a lot of this stuff. So we're going to just talk about what happened. It's what you did here is actually illegal in many parts of the U.S. Midwifery, just having a kid on your own without the government's permission or going to some state hospital is illegal in the U.S. So let's start with you, Dayna. Tell us, you don't need that because she's got this mic. Okay. Tell us about the experience.
Last year after Anarchapulco, a couple months after, Nathan and Lisa let me know that they were pregnant, and that kind of started the whole journey. Lisa said that she wanted me to attend her birth during Anarchapulco this year, and so I introduced them to the idea of unassisted birth. It's also known as free birth, and they were very interested, and I sent them a bunch of information, and they also took the reins and researched it themselves and decided that they wanted to have a birth without any medical intervention. They wanted to do it on their own, a self-designed birth with loving support, and it's been in the works for many months.
Yeah, I should point out we're here in Acapulco, Mexico. As I pointed out, I think it's legal here. We don't really care about the laws anyway, but probably it's legal in Mexico. Most things are. But in the U.S., what you actually did is actually illegal. Nathan, we were talking about all the craziness of having a baby in the U.S. With all the laws and stuff, and the sort of the socialized healthcare they have there now. The actual cost, you were telling me it's like $30,000 to have a baby?
Yeah, our first child, Meta, she's 8 now. When we had her we were fully insured, had a great healthcare package with my employer, and we were $10,000 out of pocket to have her in a hospital. And then we had Axiom, my son, who's 5 years old. Same scenario, fully covered by insurance, $30,000 out of pocket, just for all the various things that they had to find to charge you for.
What was the cost here? What's the inflatable swimming pool, like $10?
Well, our biggest cost was our midwife. The inflatable pool. Actually, it's a specially designed pool. It's not just you don't just run down to Walmart and pick one up.
I brought it from a really big suitcase from the U.S.
And that was about that plus all of the water pump and all of the stuff that went in it and everything. That was about $500, and all of the water to go in it was about $100 because we had to buy 24 of those 20-liter jugs that you see in the grocery stores because we didn't want to use Mexican tap water. So I actually had to fill the tub up with 24 of those jars, which that night I was after we were done, I was like, why am I sore? I'm not the one that pushed a baby out. That makes no sense. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, how much does all that water weigh? It was 900 pounds worth of water that I had to move to fill that tub up. So it was pretty exhausting. But
yeah. Well, let's get to the mother and ask you about your experience. This is the first time you've had a baby. It's now your third baby with a midwife. Tell us about your experience.
It was fantastic. I did not realize how much we've been lied to when we were in the hospital. In my experience here, my body naturally just did what it was supposed to do and released oxytocin, and I felt euphoric, and it was really magical. I'm gonna try not to cry, but it was extremely empowering to know that I do have the freedom to have my child the way I want to, and in my own home with the right people around and support. And it was 2 pushes and she was out.
Yeah, did I hear you only took 2 ibuprofen or something?
Afterwards.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Yeah. It was not it's not so scary. They make it scary. They make it scary, and they make it an emergency, because then you're willing to listen to everything they say in the U.S. and buy their medical business. They're selling you a business.
Yeah, it's just like everything that you're told by the media and the schools and the government, it's all wrong. And Nathan, we were talking about some of the things they do in the hospital. You were just mentioning about or was it you, Lisa? Someone mentioned about they put stuff in the kids' eyes and stuff.
Yeah, it's a gel, a disinfectant gel in the eye that's used to protect children from infection for chlamydia, even though the mother is typically tested for chlamydia before the birth. So it's totally unnecessary, but blurs the eyes to prevent any immediate connection between the mother and the newborn.
For hours.
Yeah, for hours.
And that's like an incredibly important time, right, where that connection is made. It's just so typical. That's what they're trying to do, all these things. And then, of course, they're pumping them full of vaccines right off the bat in the U.S., which I'm pretty sure you guys won't be doing here. And a lot of the baby boys immediately taken and...
We're going to shift here.
We're going to have to...
You want to go nurse?
Baby
Nathan
emergency.
and I can. Okay. Keep in mind she's just hours old, so everybody's getting used to getting used to everything, for sure.
Yeah, and to go back to the hospitals, the baby boys, often they take them and right away and cut off half the skin off their penis. They'll never have normal sexuality ever again after that. Really actually takes away a lot of the sensation for a lot of guys. So they do all these things. The vaccines, as I mentioned, they're giving some of these kids like 30 vaccines in the first 6 weeks. They don't even have an immune system yet, and they're pumping them with mercury. This is actual genocide, in my opinion, going on, and people don't even seem to know it.
Well, I mean, hospital birth I have my microphone. Hospital birth is completely different than having a home birth. It's designed to, kind of cut the connection between parent and child. From the moment you walk in that hospital, a woman's body reacts negatively. If you picture a woman, in a primitive setting in a jungle, if she was holding onto a tree and squatting down to give birth, what do you think would happen if a tiger walked by? Her labor would stop. And so the hospital, it's the exact same reaction. If a woman goes into a hospital, just naturally, her labor, as if it was a tiger, it's scary when you go in there. And so your labor becomes dysfunctional. You're under a time restraint. Women only have a 2-hour time limit of pushing in a hospital, and after that, you're getting a C-section, you're getting surgery. When up to 6 hours is totally normal. It's a vicious cycle of intervention, because birth is scary for women only because where they're birthing and that they don't have loving support. Not a soul touched Ira Belle that didn't love her and that wasn't invested in her well-being. She wasn't a number, she wasn't a job to somebody else, and that's huge, to be born in such gentleness and peace. It's in freedom. Free birth is something I believe so strongly in, and I'm so proud of the Freemans for taking the responsibility to create the birth that they wanted. And
I thought it was a song by Leonard Skinner.
Start singing it, Nathan. Let me hear.
Well, let's hear from your perspective as a father. You had the first 2 in hospitals. What was your experience?
Well, it was amazing. It was so much better than the hospital. Everything went fast, very smoothly. Actually, there's a lot of doubt going into the process, right? And we kept having to remind ourselves, human beings had children and reproduced for hundreds of thousands of years before anybody decided they needed to build a hospital. So you just have to keep plugging that away in your head when you get all the scary news about what's going to happen when you try to do this at home. So once we actually got to the point where we had everything ready, then the next scary part was we had been given a due date. And she didn't come on that day. And she didn't come on the next day after. And she didn't come on the day after that. She didn't come the day after that. And in fact, it was 18 more days before she decided to come. And which is great from a developmental standpoint, because human beings are all born 3 months early anyway. It's a biological necessity because our large brains won't fit through the female hips if we wait any longer than that. But there's the 4th trimester always happens outside the womb. So it was great that she was in there longer and had more time to develop. And it was also helpful that since we weren't trying to do anything to instigate the process, it was completely natural. So Lisa was going to the bathroom and I was like laying on the bed and she goes, I think my water just broke. And from there, 30 minutes later, her contractions were 2 minutes apart. Probably an hour, maybe a little longer than an hour after that, she was starting to enter the transition phase, which is.
I can just imagine. I never even thought about this, but if you were going to go do it in a hospital, from that moment her water broke, be either ambulance or getting in a car, driving through traffic, going in, signing some stuff, going up an elevator.
Well, then the external fetal monitor that they strap onto the woman, and they usually give her an IV, so she's stuck in bed, which is the worst place you could be if you're in labor. So the second her water broke and we got here, we started walking. She and I walked all around the complex. It's the best thing you can do for gravity to get that baby down. You don't want to sit and wait. You want to like help the process along in partnership with your baby. So. And undrugged babies help themselves be born. So she was literally helping herself be born. She was pushing up with her feet inside, and her and Lisa were in total partnership, and we didn't stop walking the whole time until she was like ready for the tub. So
yeah, and Lisa's not here at the moment, but I heard that she really almost had very little pain at all until just the very last few seconds, which, you know.
So there was about 30 minutes of very serious pain. Now, when we had Meta, there was like 20 hours of labor we had at home, not knowing that she was actually experiencing labor, because we didn't think the contractions were regular, because things that didn't really hurt her to the point where she couldn't stand it, she didn't consider a contraction. Right? So she'd have one and be like, well, that couldn't have been a contraction because I wasn't double over in pain. So it wasn't until the really severe ones came along that we actually knew. Well, by the time we got to the hospital, they were like, you're 7 centimeters. Your baby's coming like real soon. Oh.
Lisa's back, yay.
I heard someone talking about it.
Yes, I was bragging about your pain threshold. Which
you.
you have to say that again.
I've been married to you. I have a high pain threshold, yes.
When would you have considered it being painful? Like at what stage?
Just before she came. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the...
Yeah. Because I think sometimes you can interpret something as pain in labor when it's just really strong sensations and moaning. It doesn't necessarily mean you're in pain, you're just releasing that energy. So it's hard to tell how long you were in that stage. I know right with pushing you were, but...
It was under 10 minutes was the worst. Probably 10 minutes worth was the scariest and the worst part.
Did you weigh the baby?
Nope.
I think I'm going to Selecto, and instead of getting a bag of apples, we'll just put her on the scale. Where?
I was just curious because it was overdue, I guess is what the word is. So I was wondering if it was extra large.
I don't feel like she's that big.
She wasn't
look
overdue.
huge.
There's no such thing as overdue.
No, she came right on time, of course, but longer than what a lot of the doctors say.
Exactly.
But she doesn't look especially large to me.
Maybe 7 pounds-ish, maybe.
Well, we'll probably go to Selecto tomorrow. I'll need some apples, so...
It is a funny thought that like the first thing they do with a baby in a hospital is measure it, type it. Yeah. You know, they have to encode it in every way.
Yeah. It was just not a priority at all. Like, I can't even imagine being like that being a priority.
Do you plan to get some sort of birth certificate or anything, or have you thought about that yet?
Well, we want to do...
Here's the pros and cons. Our understanding is that she's eligible for Mexican citizenship since she was born here. There may be some advantages to her having a Mexico birth certificate, particularly around property ownership. So that may be a reason at some point to get one for her. But right now we have no specific plans to do it. We're certainly not going to get her any kind of U.S. papers.
No?
Hell no.
Wow.
She'll be free and clear.
That's great.
Yeah.
So she's not born with all that U.S. government debt overhanging her. She also was born on the same evening, as far as we can tell, that David Rockefeller passed away. So she's growing up in a world without David Rockefeller. So she's off to a great start. Yeah, so you've been actually, you were telling me that you got into this midwifery thing. That was sort of like your big first thing before you even got into your unschooling and knew you were an anarchist or any of that sort of, maybe even before you were vegan, I don't even know. But tell us a little bit about your experience with that. And also, I think you were saying that you wouldn't mind helping other people, especially anarchists out there, if they want to do a home birth.
Yeah, I have 4 kids, and Devin, when he was born, my first child, it was really life transforming, and I decided I wanted to help other women experience what I experienced. So I became a childbirth teacher and a doula, and studying midwifery just being passed down by other women. You know, it's birth is not a medical event. It's a natural process, and when you're supported and anybody can gain that knowledge themselves by connecting with other women, so that have the experience. So I started off as a doula. I am still a doula. I'm not a certified midwife. I'm what's called a lay midwife, which is a midwife that's learned from other women. And I have no certification, and so in the U.S. I wouldn't be allowed to practice midwifery, but I am a doula, so I can practice that. There's no like regulation surrounding that. So they're all really just labels, and it comes down to women helping other women. And it's really inspiring, and I believe that Lisa will go on to help other women on this path as well.
Well, it's interesting because you guys had a sort of a women's circle at Anarchapulco. I know that you also had, I don't know what you were doing, but I saw on Facebook.
Blessing Way.
A Blessing Way? Yeah, maybe Lisa, tell us a little bit about that. What was that all about?
It was beautiful. It was kind of the opposite of what you would have for a baby shower, where it's more materialistic. This was more of supporting of me and this little person I was bringing in, and women just supporting each other and empowering each other to keep showing up and being a good mom. And I had never experienced it, never heard of it, but I knew that I did not want a baby shower at all. I did not want the whole materialistic stuff. It was always boring and just fake. So I didn't want to be fake. And this was pretty emotional. It changed me, and I really hope to do that again for someone else. I mean, Meta was there too, so she got to see other women empowering other women. And you know, when you're trying to break down a society, pinning people against each other, women against women, men against men, is a great way to start dissolving people and their compassion. And now that we see through that, it's much easier to bring that people back together, and it was really beautiful. Yeah.
It's a healing experience.
Yeah.
Definitely. The Blessing Way was really life transforming, I think, for a lot of people.
It was weird to have people rubbing my feet and combing my hair. Like, I had Ovens on one side, Stephanie Murphy on another, Macy, Julia Taransky, and I'm like, if the guys knew what was happening, they would trade places with me in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I actually want one for myself.
Yeah, how do I get a Blessing Way?
I guess I have to get pregnant. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
We have to change the name. I think you'd come up with a different name.
Then Blessing Way? Well, I think it's a perfect name.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were surrounded by unicorns.
Yes, I was. Unicorns, and I had my own little unicorn. Yep.
That's great. Well, I know you've barely slept since this all happened, and I know, Lisa, you've gone through a lot of those, although you're glowing, you look like so happy, so that's great. And I know you're leaving tomorrow. You've been waiting around for this, but it happened right before you left. Everything just seemed to happen right on time.
Perfect timing for everything.
But if anyone wants to mention anything else.
I just want to point out, can you look at the camera?
Why?
Just look at the camera.
Okay, why?
She gave birth to a baby 15 hours ago.
All right.
You're so in love.
Well, there's that, but there's also, like, that's how much better the process was.
Oh,
You look at a picture of anyone who's given birth in a hospital, any woman who's given a birth in a hospital, they look like they've just run a marathon and then been subjected to spousal abuse. I mean, it's just, which I guess in some sense is exactly what happened, but it's just terrible. And I couldn't believe it when I got the first picture of Lisa in the birthing pool with Ira Belle, and I looked at that photograph, and you couldn't tell this was somebody that had just been through such a process. It was just
a process, though. It was just natural. So it wasn't like there was nothing artificial. So it's just like breathing and eating and going to sleep. It was just the way your body is meant to do. So it was. I mean, yes, I pushed a baby out of me, but so, you just, I don't know. It was beautiful. I just trusting our bodies to do what it's supposed to do is what they don't want us to do. So there's no money in that.
So another like fairly typical thing that's done in a hospital birth is when they cut the umbilical cord. And we waited. How long did we wait, Dayna?
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
It's usually almost instant. I remember with Meta and Axiom, it was immediate. And we waited 2 hours to cut the cord, and
There's no hurry here at all.
Yeah.
There's no time limit. There's nobody that needs to change shifts, and you know, we just took our time, and yeah, it was a really positive, easy experience.
Now, do they still hold the kids up and spank their butts?
No, I mean, not that I'm aware of.
Wait, that is like
They used to. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
warm them up from their abuse that they're going to be suffering for the rest of their lives.
They thought it warmed their lungs up. There's always reasons behind it. They used to give women just shave an enema, like right when they went in, every single woman, and they'd be strapped down. We've come a little bit further from that time, but that was when birth first moved into hospitals. They were very controlled, and there are hospitals that are a little more relaxed, but there's nothing compared to what we did here last night. And I think that almost everybody watching probably thinks of birth as being a certain way. You think even natural birth, you might have a vision of what it is. It's not what you think. That birth is a really beautiful, natural, easy, joyful process for most women. And if you have loving support and you do what you did, and you guys put a lot of effort into it. Some people don't want to take responsibility for doing what you did. I mean, just picking the birth supplies down to every detail of what we created. If you take the time to take responsibility for your own birth, you can have a baby in freedom, and it affects who they are for the rest of their lives. It's a really profound, deeply powerful experience. And so if this is the first time you're hearing about it, please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to help assist you if you're looking for something like this. Contact the Freemans, or you could check out a book that I wrote called Sexy Birth.
Yeah, so we'll put a link to that book down below. I forgot you wrote that book. How many books have you written?
2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was aware of your unschooling one. Or what's that one called again?
Radical Unschooling, The
Right.
Revolution Has Begun.
We'll put a link to that one down below as well, because that's also good. For people out there, if you don't know about circumcision, do not ever do that to a baby boy, please. Please look up what you're doing. It's absolutely heinous. But it's actually ways to regrow your foreskin somehow, or restore it as they call it. So just look up Restore Foreskin. I've actually been doing it myself. But let's finish this up. You guys are probably going to do another women's circle, I guess, next Anarchapulco. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this year we had a women's circle for the first time, just to offer support and connection to women, where there's primarily been a lot of men at Anarchapulco. We wanted to pull the women together. There was a lot of women. A lot of people. Yeah, we were packed. It was great. So just offering that support was wonderful. We're doing it again next year, hopefully bigger and better and a lot more people. So we look forward to that.
everything in Acapulco will keep getting bigger and bigger.
I know. It's great every year. It's amazing.
I'm sorry.
Nako.
I've got big dreams.
Yeah, we haven't even had a chance to talk since Anarchapulco, and maybe we'll do a whole episode talking about the last Anarchapulco. Was really great, and yeah, we expect next year is going to be even bigger. And even if it's not, it doesn't really matter. It's just really great. I didn't hear any bad comments from anybody, and a lot of people are still here in Acapulco. This is like what, a month later or something.
Right?
The biggest crowd that stayed after.
Yeah.
And 30 people. Well, they've been hearing stories of all the people getting terrorized on the way back to the U.S. and getting their money stolen and getting harassed. So they're like, I'll just stay here. I'm safer.
Not a bad idea. A good place to have a baby too, by the looks of it. So yeah, we'll leave it with that. We'll let them get back to enjoying their less than 24-hour, a year old, what was it, 24-hour-old baby. And Dayna, you're heading home soon too. I know you extended your stay quite a bit here for this, but luckily it fit in your time, because I knew you had to go back tomorrow, so just in time.
It was perfect. Everything was lined up perfectly. So I'm so grateful.
Great. So we'll leave it at that. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share down below. Spread this with anyone out there who's obviously pregnant. Sounds to me like that's the way to have a baby. Definitely beats a $30,000 thing in a septic hospital where they put gel in your baby's eye so it can't connect with the mother right after it's born, and pump it full of mercury and cut off half its penis if it's a boy. It sounds a lot better just to do it this way, so check that out. Check out Dayna's book as well. I wasn't even aware of it. And yeah, that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.